nothing but the dog in me. Why must I chase the cat?
I cracked myself up. Good evening and welcome to Pound Posse Presents. Tonight I want to welcome Taunya Damon.
Hi.
And Oliver, little Oliver, I can't even stand it, with the Little Oliver Foundation. Taunya, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate you came all the way down from Worcester, Mass.
Yep.
So anybody who likes to tell me it's like a hike, I have people come from farther. Anyway, it's really fun to have different people on that I've hung out with and done events with. And,
Yeah.
You know, it just kind of like, it completes the circle, so to speak, you know what I mean? And Taunya and Oliver may look familiar because they've been to plenty of the events that I've gone to and more.
Yeah.
Last year they were at Bow Wow Bark in the Park.
Yeah.
And we're going to do that again this year.
Yes, definitely.
This time you're tabling.
Yes.
Which is exciting.
Yes.
And also the Bikers Against Animal Cruelty Rally.
This will be my first year for that.
This will be really cool because you'll be tabling and then we'll buddy up together and we'll offer each other emotional support for
Yes.
the first time tablers.
Yes.
Because your mission is sort of getting off the ground.
Yes.
You're getting your sea legs, you're getting the exposure, and we'll talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But pretty much and actually what I'm going to do is let's show some of those pictures of Oliver like at his table because he's just too cute. Nope. Skip down to Oliver on the table. Yup, there you go. With the crazy hair. There he is doing one of his little tables at an event. And there's also a picture we have of Oliver and Juno. If you want to know how little Oliver really is, which you can't really see in his mom's lap right now, he's littler than Juno, and that's hard to do. But in any event, yep, there's like the event circuit, and it's prime time, and
Yep.
you're going to be out there, which is really cool. Like I said, as you go to try to get on your feet with the Little Oliver Foundation, but let's talk about, we'll take the camera back. Let's talk about Oliver because he's got a story that kind of needs to be told first.
Yeah.
What is Oliver's story?
Well, Oliver was found tied to a bench. He was...
Sit up, Oliver.
He's-
Let everybody see your cute little self.
He was basically abandoned. He was having seizures and he couldn't walk. And luckily a Good Samaritan found him and brought him into the hospital that I work at. And he was in such rough shape that they almost euthanized him upon coming in. But they decided to give him the night to see if he would make any improvements. And luckily, he started making small improvements. He was hospitalized for just about a month.
Wow.
About the 3-week mark, he was gaining back the ability to walk fairly stably. His seizures were medically controlled. He would still have breakthrough seizures. But he was stable enough to be adopted out. And then about a week later, I took him home. And we did diagnostics and more treatment. And come to find out, all his seizures and issues were due to head trauma, due to consistent with being kicked or dropped or something like that.
And imagine, he's so tiny.
Yeah.
It wouldn't take much.
Right, and he was smaller at the time.
Right.
He's 4.5 pounds now, and he was probably about 3.25 pounds when he came into the hospital, so.
I just have to, there's never been anything in my house that weighs that little. Nothing, no animal. That's just, seriously,
Yeah.
it didn't take much to do a whole lot of damage to him. And no one was ever implicated or?
No, nobody, no owner was found.
Of course, never any witnesses.
Of course not.
Never,
No.
never anybody who's got any information
No.
when you need it. Now, we have some pictures of Oliver during his recovery. Those first ones that you were starting to put up, Zach, there you go. Let's talk about these. He's all eyes there.
He's all eyes. That was about the 3-week mark where he started to be able to stand. He would still stumble and fall over. He would have mini breakthrough seizures at this point. You can see that his eyes were separated. They
were kind of like
offset.
Marty Feldman eyes. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
Go back, Zach.
He had fluid on the brain due to the trauma, so it typically fluid on the brain causes that
Pressure on the eyes.
right.
And,
They're less offset now.
oh, yeah.
Definitely. But yeah, that was at the 3-week mark.
Poor little guy. And the next picture we have?
The next picture, that was his skin. He had severe skin infections due to the fact that he was so traumatized in the first. When he was found, he was approximately 6 months. So his beginning of his life was very stressful, and when you're that stressed and when you have injuries and stuff, it does a damage.
It takes its toll,
yeah,
sure.
It takes toll on your immune system, and his body was not able to fight off the infections that he was getting on his skin. So that took a while to clear up.
And what a horrible thought to think that he was so young and had such an awful time of it so early on.
Yeah.
I mean, not even fully grown or formed or,
Yep.
you know.
He still had a couple baby teeth when he was found. So.
Next picture, Zach.
This was right after he had a nuclear med procedure. Basically, they thought he might have a liver shunt. He had all these liver issues. He was on a special diet. And they were concerned that he might have a liver shunt. So he had a procedure to determine whether or not it was. And luckily it wasn't. Basically his liver issues were due to malnutrition and just not being cared for properly. And luckily now, with proper nutrition and the proper care, his liver issues have basically corrected themselves.
And it's just, again, it's so horrible to think that it took so little time for him to just be so almost done in by people. What's the next picture? Oh, baby.
This was after his procedure. He really wasn't a fan of the cone.
Yeah, he's like giving that thing stink eye, isn't
Yeah, that was definitely the stink eye. But you can also see like these areas around his eyes are balding and
Yep. And that's indicative of a nutritional problem too.
Yep.
I
Yep.
know that from
Yeah.
experience.
he definitely had some major skin issues, areas of baldness that have since corrected themselves.
Yeah, he looks fabulous. You would never know by looking at him that he went through any of this. And I
Yeah.
think we've got more. Oh.
This picture was from because he was on seizure meds. He had to have the seizure meds fairly frequently. It's a time-sensitive thing, so.
Sure, because you don't want it to run out and then he breaks through.
Right, exactly. So I would have to take him to work with me every day in order to administer his seizure meds on time. And
of course, fortunately that you worked at the vet's office.
Right, exactly. So this was him waiting to get his medication. I think at this point he was probably ready to go home, as was I.
Yeah, right. Time to go.
Yep.
Any more?
This is him, healthy, happy pup.
Yeah, what a big difference.
Yep, his very first grooming session.
Really?
This was right after his grooming session. Tamed that wild hair he had.
Well,
little
you know,
bit.
it's endearing.
Oh yes,
It really is.
it got a little out of control, so we trimmed it up. But
So he was all set and ready to get on to his new life, which
Yep.
he has with you.
yes,
Which, you know, is a very fortunate thing because, you know, not a lot of people, not knowing what the full extent of his problems would be, would necessarily step up to the plate. Now, do we have any more? All right, we'll take the camera back. And so this journey with Oliver and his recovery pretty much set the stage. It heightened your awareness of just what it takes and what gets put into the rehabilitation of an animal that has been in his position, neglected, abused.
yeah.
So let's talk about the Little Oliver Foundation, which is what came from Oliver's story.
Yeah, after caring for Oliver, I realized that the amount and the extent of funds that is needed, the appointments and the care that is needed, and
It becomes a constant.
it becomes a constant, right? And a light bulb just went on in my head, and I'm like, I really want to help other animals that were in similar situations, like Oliver's situation, because a lot of times these abuse and neglect cases come in to the vets, or they're brought in by the animal control officer, and they require a lot of medical care.
And not everybody is in a position.
And not everybody has the funds. Even shelters and rescues are hurting for funds, and it's hard for them to take in a case like this. And unfortunately, sometimes it results in euthanasia.
Yeah,
and
because there's just no other. They don't have the means
Right.
to save the animal.
Exactly. And we want to prevent that, give these guys a second chance at life, basically, the life that they deserve. So
Yeah, and that clearly they haven't had, or something went wrong along the way. Because not every, you know, it's really, it's mind-boggling because not every animal starts out in a bad way.
Right.
It may fall along the wayside to the wrong hands.
yep,
And that can certainly undo anything anything good that's ever happened to that animal.
right,
And you know, they truly are the victims because they're voiceless, they're helpless.
exactly,
Oliver's lucky break was getting left on that bench.
right. And being found.
Yeah.
If someone didn't bring him in, then he unfortunately would have probably died there.
Yeah.
So
And so he was one of the lucky ones, of course. And so you just basically undertook this last year.
yes,
And so, as I said, you're kind of in that formative state, and this is why you're getting, you know, trying to get your face out there and promote the Little
Yep.
Oliver Foundation so people know that you're there and that you are on the road to try to help.
right.
Now, in the interim, you've been able to do a few things.
Yes, yes, we've been able to send out care packages that contain things like treats, interactive toys, maybe a little hoodie or something, you know.
Little comfort
little
items.
comfort items, blankets, things like that, and just to kind of help the animals on their new journey to happy, healthy life.
It's a very sweet gesture.
Yeah.
And you've also been able to address some of. A lot of times there's like a wish list that's put out, and
Yeah.
you've been able to fulfill some of that.
Yes, yep.
Which is really a cool thing to do too.
Yeah, when we see a wish list, we try to fulfill at least a good portion of it in order to give the animals what they need.
Yeah, I mean, because you know, a lot of times you can blindly send stuff, but
Right.
you know, if there is a wish list, it's always
It's good to know what's
you can
needed.
be specific
Yeah.
and not just, duplicate so many things.
Right.
And, not that that's ever a bad thing, especially if it's a shelter, but you
Yeah.
want to make your contribution to be specific.
Right.
So you're going to be doing some events, like I was saying,
Yep.
around here, which is really cool. Bow Wow Bark in the Park is the biggie this year, I think.
Yep.
Everybody's so excited about that. We've
Yeah,
got
absolutely.
so many cool people. Yourself.
Yes.
We'll start with
And
you.
you. And you.
And me. Well, yeah, if that's cool, I guess. And, we're going to have Sweet Pea and
Sweet Pea, yeah.
Hudson, the railroad puppy, and, of course, Juno.
Juno's. Yep.
For the Love of Jack,
Yeah.
Pet Playhouse. There's going to be a lot of very cool Bikers Against Animal Cruelty will be there.
Right.
And, of course, before that, their event, the rally, the 10th anniversary rally.
Rally and adoption
Adoption
event.
event, yep.
So definitely come out and check that out.
Yeah, definitely come and visit us there because I'm aiming to table there as well.
Awesome.
But now, if somebody is curious about what you do, you have a Facebook page up. Let's get the logos up. Yes. Zach's in another world tonight. He's like, logos? So you have a Facebook page, and,
Yes.
and this is what you've got up. Let's get the other one too. I love that. That's just so cute. It didn't all come through because of the widescreen and the pictures and all that.
Oh, that's okay.
But we'll take it back. The Facebook page is
It's www.littleoliverfoundation.com.
that's your website.
Oh, that's my website,
Yep.
yes. And then the Facebook page is the Little Oliver Foundation.
And so do you have an email or?
We do have an email. It's simply contact@littleoliverfoundation.com.
And you had another inspiration
Yes.
in sort of something happening at the same time Oliver was.
Yes. Around the time that Oliver, the whole Oliver thing was happening, there was another story that caught my eye, the story of Libre, Boston Terrier puppy that was found dumped in the dirt and left to die. And luckily, a postal worker noticed him and did something about it, contacted a shelter, and the shelter stepped in and was able to save this dog. He was covered in mange, and again, like Oliver's story, the vet took a look at him and recommended euthanasia. And luckily, the shelter wanted to do everything they could to save this pup. And today, he's a happy, healthy pup.
Oh yeah, he
looks
totally
great.
did a turnaround.
Yeah.
There was a lot of activity about Libre on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
So many of these animals, it's cool to watch their recoveries and their stories.
Yes.
And we were talking, I think, last night about, is it social media that brings this all to light, or is it, social media a medium for some of these jerks that abuse animals? But it's nice to be able to see the good stuff.
Yes. I mean, sometimes it's hard to look at the pictures of when they're first found or
It's
rescued.
devastating, yeah.
But it's so enlightening and happy to see their transformation.
Yeah, that's definitely an inspiration, and that Libre was happening at the same time Oliver.
Yes.
That
Yep.
certainly had to double your efforts in trying to make something happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. Around that time, I was formulating the plan of how to form this foundation, and we finally were able to put everything together and get through all the
It's so much red tape.
Oh yeah, the legal red tape to get it up and running, and it was finally up and running this year. So now we're spreading the word and trying to grow. So hopefully.
Well, certainly, you've got all your stuff lined up properly.
Yep.
You know, you're doing all the right things, and you can only move forward from here.
Yes.
Which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and we look forward to it, definitely.
You've got Oliver as, you know, your constant companion, and
Who's sleeping right now.
It's like, hey, Oliver. Hello.
Wake up.
Hello.
He's
Can you wave to the public?
He was like, it was a long drive.
Can you wave to the public? Can you say hi?
Say hi.
He's like, you're disturbing my sleep. I don't want to be bothered. But he's so cute. I can't even stand it. I just, there aren't that many things that are just so tiny, and I can't even stand it. Nothing in my house has ever been so small, I'm telling you.
Maybe a bird.
Well, yeah, okay, so let's not get me started on that, okay? You had to say that. If anybody's missing a parakeet in Waterbury from like the Waterbury-Wolcott line, I've got one that was found in the street and brought to me tonight on the way to the, before I left the house for coming to the studio. So if anybody's missing a parakeet, holler, pawprints713@aol.com. Let's see if it's the same bird, because, you know, I don't have to actually keep him. I'm more than happy to return him. He's very stressed and maybe a little distressed, but he's hungry and thirsty, and he's not left the food bowl, and he's safe, and he's going to be cared for. But, you know, if you're actually missing a parakeet and you weren't the jerk that just let him go because you didn't want to take care of him, holler. You can have him back. But, you know, there's nothing like your best friend, you know, sending you a message, hey, I got this bird, and it's in a cat carrier, and you're like, yeah, okay, great. I'm on my way. Okay, thanks. Let me just clean up a cage and get it all together.
Yeah.
You had to say bird, right?
Sorry.
You had to get me started.
Sorry.
But that's okay, because, you know, yeah, the birds are smaller. But I've had bigger birds than him in my house, too.
Yeah.
Because, we were talking about that. And, you know, I had a macaw in the house, too. And
Oh, that would definitely be bigger.
yeah, definitely.
He'd probably eat you.
Yeah, I was going to say, you'd be a snack, wouldn't you? So, again, if anybody wants to find out more about the Little Oliver Foundation, the Facebook page is out there, and you post where you're going to be, and, you know,
Yep.
the things that you're doing to keep yourself moving.
Yep.
And again, events that are coming up. Is there any other events that you're doing?
Yes, we're doing Pet Rock.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
How could I forget Pet Rock? Pet Rock is going to be so much fun this year.
Yeah.
And a new venue as well.
Yes, in Grafton.
And you're going to Huddy's Buddies, or no?
Not as a vendor.
Right,
But
okay. You're
if
attending.
you see me walking around, you can stop me and say
Yeah,
hi.
I plan on attending that one as well.
Yeah.
Because that's a long day for vending,
Yeah.
to have a table. For me, anyway.
Right. It's also quite a hike, I think.
It's like a good couple-hour ride.
Yeah.
But I've said before that that's my birthday weekend, and so I want to be like with all the cool kids. So that's going to be my journey, and yeah, I guess I really am going to rake in. I guess favors call for favors, because I asked Sarah, my best friend, to walk my dogs while I'm at that. So I got a bird for my trouble. Okay. So what else is there?
We're going to be at Doc Dogs in
Okay.
Spencer, Mass.
Alrighty,
That's
and
a full weekend. We'll be there. I believe it goes Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but we'll be there on Saturday and Sunday.
And when is that?
I'd have to look up the date.
Okay.
But it's listed on our website
Okay.
under events. So you can just, and of course, when it comes closer to the event, we'll post it on our Facebook page as well.
Yeah, I haven't been to that one. We had one of those locally, and I didn't make it to that either. It was rainy, and I, didn't want to get wet. This hair doesn't recover well, okay?
Oh, mine doesn't either.
I put too much into it to want to get wet and have to recover. It doesn't happen very well. Oliver, you're too cute. It is. It's very hard to imagine hurting any animal.
Yeah.
But one so small, I don't understand.
I will never understand how anyone can harm any animal.
And I'm
but
sure you see some pretty
especially-
awful things working at a vet.
We have, yeah, unfortunately.
And that must keep your determination.
Absolutely. especially because a lot of times they're brought in by animal control, and we don't even know who the owner is, so you can't hold anyone responsible for what's happened to these poor animals.
And that's just like the perfect thing to say. If you know something,
say something.
yeah. If you know that an animal has been abused, or you suspect that there's something going on, and you don't say something, you're as guilty as the abuser.
Yeah.
You know, there's people out here like Taunya who are willing to try to pick up the pieces, but that shouldn't have to be necessary.
Right.
At all. There should not be a need to pick up the pieces of the damage that people inflict on animals. It
Right.
just really, you know, they think they're going to be anonymous and do their damage and get their kicks or whatever, and just kind of like slink away under the rock that they crawled out from under. But, you know, if you know something, it really is, you know, it's up to you to say something. You know, Oliver fortunately was found. There are so many more that aren't found. You know, they suffer in silence and die. They get
Yep.
brought into the vet's office in an emergency situation and get euthanized because, you know, and they're alone and with strangers, and, you know, they're in suffering and in pain.
Yep.
And, you know, you can speak more of that than even I can because you see it.
And it's unfortunate, and it doesn't need to happen. And unfortunately it does, and we have to be the voice for these animals because they don't have a voice.
Exactly. So kudos to you for, you know, your efforts and
Thank
your
you.
wanting to do something to change the outcomes of these animals, and you certainly have my support.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for making the journey.
Thank you. No
And
problem.
to Oliver for being so cute and so well behaved.
Sleeping through the entire interview.
Well, you know, come on. You want to sit up and give the audience one more look at you because you're like just too stinking cute and I can't stand it? Look at this little face. He's so tiny. I just, if you're, really, look at this little foot. You can't even see it anymore. All right, Zach has given us the go-ahead. We're going to say peace, love, and dogs. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
watching. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Dan. Thank you.